Oh, hello. Happy Wednesday. Give me 1 second. So sorry. Technical things. Technical things. Okay. All right. I think I fixed it. Here's hoping. Okay. Hello. I hope that you guys have wonderful holidays. It's been a minute since we have been together. I have my cough drops on standby, along with some waters and, of course, my coffee. So hopefully we can get through this without me having a total coughing fit and not being able to speak. Um, yeah. So, oh, your hair is crazy, crazy curly wild today, Lori. That is true. This is my God-given hair. All I did was wash it, put some product in it, and diffuse it. That's it. That's my whole. I told my daughter and my son both said something about my hair, and I was there. My daughter was very kind about it and was like, "Your hair looks so pretty. What did you do to it?" And I was like, "I washed it." I washed it, which I guess is really terrible. But I typically don't wear my hair down. I do usually wear it up. So that's probably part of why. It's usually curly, but it's just up. Okay. So I'm going to take me off. Oh, Brandon, you're sick too. I'm so sorry about that. Like, yeah, we were sick, but I was the only person who was sick, which I'm grateful for because I don't want my kids to be sick. So anywho, I'm going to take me off so that we can look at, oh, we're all cattywampus. Let me scoot this over. Why are you the way that you are, sir? Okay. So here is what I thought. So I pulled out this rest and relaxation. It does have a lot. This was in a summer release, and it does have a lot of summer ones, but it also has like happy retirement and relax and enjoy your day or your birthday or whatever. And so I thought that would be a good fit for. I wanted to do like a watercolor landscape, but that can be really overwhelming if you hi Betsy, if you are not like somebody who practices watercolor. And so there is a trick that you can do to get like a really nice watercolor stencil, or watercolor landscape with stencils. So I wanted to do that today. I thought that would be fun since we are still very firmly in winter. Despite what the weather is doing, we are still very firmly in winter. It's been raining here. I saw you guys talking at the beginning of the thing, that it's like, isn't it raining everywhere? And yes, it's been raining here. Today is not rainy, but it is like dreary. So yeah, it's not great. So the stencil that I picked is the range scene. Honeybee has a lot of different like landscape scenes that you could do this with. And so mountain background. Okay. I have to pull mine apart so I can see. We're going to go through and lay these down just so we can see what the layers are. This is how I like to do all of my stencils. Yeah, Betsy, exactly. It is super dreary, but it's above freezing. It's 40 degrees right now in the Cleveland area. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to lay these down so I can see what's what, because that is what works for me. And then that way we can plan our colors for our scene. So now, like, you guys know that I'm not a Like, I'm not a person who's going to waste my who's going to waste my things. So I'm just going to take a scrap piece of cardstock and oh, there we go. And then if you are not familiar with honeybee stencils, they're labeled, but they're not labeled like 1, 2, 3. Well, not just like 1, 2, 3, 4, but they're labeled with what they are, which is super helpful. So I don't know if you can see this. This says range, scene, sky, and ground 1. So that like this part is open for the sky and this part is open for the ground. So that way, when you're like putting them together, you know exactly what you're inking, and it helps for color choices. So we were talking about my hair earlier, and we're like, oh, I never wear my hair down, and now we're like 2 seconds into this card, and I'm already like, it's in my face. It needs to go, needs to go up and out of my way. Okay. So I am just going to, I'm only going to use one color, because that's going to be all I need to figure out like what is what and how I want my colors to go. Let's see, watch some of those thin lines. I ended up using pixie spray for those. Thank you, Betsy. I have pixie spray and I will spray them. Oh, and Caitlin, Happy New Year. I saw your little snowman card over on the Instagrams with all your little glitters, and it was adorable. So my sister was here yesterday, and she very lovingly was helping me clean up my area. So now I have to hunt for, which is not her fault. I just don't know where they, there it is. I just don't know where they ended up. Okay. And, oh, Lord have mercy. We dropped one. Okay. So now we can do this. All right. So Betsy says we need our pixie spray, and I believe her. So here I like to just take my pixie spray is just like light tack repositionable adhesive, and then so we're just going to give it a light coating, but I do mine over the garbage can so that I don't have all the overspray all over my desk. So I'm not going to put my garbage can on my desk, but just know that that is in fact what I am doing. And you know what, actually, if I have a glass desk, so if I just lifted this little thing up right here, you'd be able to see what I was doing right through the bottom. Right through the bottom. This desk, you know how old this desk is, y'all? This desk is old. This desk was my college graduation gift from my parents. That's how old this desk is. All right, I'm just kind of spraying them and laying them out. I'm not taking any risks for which ones might need it and which ones might not, because I don't want to be in the middle of it and not have them sprayed. Oh, Nanette, good. I'm so glad you were happy with your mystery box. I did get some messages from others as well that they were thrilled with them, and I am so glad. I'm glad that they are off to a home where they will get lots of love. And my husband is glad that they are out of my house. Oh, you know how husbands are. We did try to make sure they were packed with goodness. Okay. That's all of them. So now they're all sprayed. Now I have to, oh, look at this. So I don't even know if you can see it. Can you tell the difference? So this one has the pixie spray on it and it's like matte now. It has like no gloss, where this one still has like my glossy top coat. I'm sure it'll come off when I wash my hands, but that is very comical. It just has no no shine whatsoever. All right, so let's see what goes down first, or does it even matter? Ground details 2 and grass. Fence posts and grassy hill. Let's see. Do they have a order that they want you to do them in? I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't look like it. It looks like we could just kind of do our own thing. So I'm going to start with the one that has the open sky, because I think that that will be the easiest to kind of line up everything else. Okay. So now theirs are 6x6. Their stencils are 6x6. Don't worry, I'll zoom in here. But obviously I'm working on an A2 card. So I am going to, I think I want more sky and less land. So I'm going to take this down as far as I can. Nope. I got to go a little bit up. I don't want to cut off the paper. Okay. So that's that. All right. And now, because I want to be able to line them up so that they match, I am going to, I know you guys are going to be concerned. Don't be. We'll be able to clean it up. Where do you get pixie spray and what do you use it for? So Julie, I got mine from Honeybee, and it's just a spray adhesive that's super light. And so you would use it. So see all these little thin pieces in here? Nope, you can't see them. I can see them, but you can't see them. Let me tilt them. Okay, see all these thin pieces in here? Sometimes with those thinner pieces, because there isn't anything holding them down, like how we have it on the sides, there isn't anything to hold them down. So by putting a little bit of repositionable adhesive on the back, it holds them in place while we're doing our ink blending. Alternatively, if you don't want to spray, you can use, look at this old ride or die. You can use Tombow Mono Multi Glue because it is repositionable when it dries. So I used to use this on the back of my stencils before the craft industry had any other options, so that they wouldn't move around. I also used to use it to make my own masks because I was too cheap to buy masking paper. Okay. So here I have just a regular Copic marker. You can use an Olo, you can use a Sharpie, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to take this right along the edge of my stencil, just right across there, so that I know where to line up my stencil every time that I put it on there. And then at the end, like when I go to clean it, I can just get that off with a little bit of like stamp cleaner, or using alcohol. You do kind of run the risk that you're going to dry out your grip mat, but then that way I know exactly where to line it up. Okay, so now this is like the pre steps, remember, because we don't know what all the stencil parts do. So we're trying to come up with our game plan for our watercolor landscape. But I also do this even if I'm using the stencil with no watercolor. Like I go in and I just lay them down so that I can see what's what. And then I'm just going to pull this off. And I'm going to set it to the side. Okay, I'm just going to grab the next one and see. The other thing about honeybee stencils, let me see. Do I have a piece of dark cardstock that I could show you on so you could see it? So they are etched. So you can see, even though this isn't open, none of this is open, this is all stencil, you can see where the mountain range is etched and like where it meets the ground. So that helps tremendously in lining them up because they're clear, you can see through them, and then they're etched. So you can line them up exactly where we want them to go. And then smush them down, and then I just double check, is that lined up with my little line at the bottom? And it sure is. So we're good to go. So this one does, this says ground detail and grass. So now we're on the ground. Okay. Mountain background. Okay. So this is going to fill in the actual color of the mountains. And this little, there's like some little speckly bits in here. Did I say I was going to zoom in? Y'all got to tell me something. All right. So then this one does the actual mountain. And I just do it in the same color because I'm not going to do anything else with it. So I just want it to show me. See, even this one is like a little, what the different layers are. Okay. And then this one is the ground details. So I think this is, Betsy, I totally see, like these areas are so thin. I could absolutely see why you would want to do the pixie tape. And in fact, I'm not even going to blend in a circle per se. I'm going to kind of just go back and forth because it makes it less wiggly. Hi, Ray. Okay. There we go. And then we did this one. This one is all of the sky, mountain details, and fence rails. Okay. So we're going to line those up. Okay. So this has got some like clouds in the sky, wispy clouds. And then it also has the details for the mountains, which you would think, because we're putting the same color on top of the same color, that you wouldn't be able to see it, but you will, because you're building up the color on top of each other. Yeah, these ones are very finicky. The little fence rails. Deanna, I'm doing them like this so that I can figure out what all of the layers are going to be before I go in and do my actual colors. Okay, and then this is the last one, which is the fence posts and grass hill. So I'm using the etched part to line up my mountain, but then also to line up this grass portion. Okay. Alrighty. So now that's all the layers. Which actually, can we just talk about how like this is all like tone on tone on tone? Like you could put a sympathy sentiment on this and still use this as a card. Because all of the elements are still there. They're just really subdued because it's just tone on tone. So this is actually still a usable piece. Alternatively, you could use here, I have one over here because you guys know I don't throw anything away. Like you could do, like this is the Art Deco. You could, did I get the fence posts? Did I get the fence posts? Maybe I just did the grasses. Susan, let's double check. Again, it's going to be super easy to line it up. You're right, I didn't get them. It's going to be super easy to line it up because of that etching and them being clear. You are correct. I did not get the fence posts. Good eye, Sue. Well, what's his name? The Gordon Ramsay. Well spotted. I'm not British. I can't do any kind of accents at all. So then here, like all the elements are still there was basically what I was saying. And then you could do like a little die cut on top and do like, you know, happy retirement or a sympathy card. And then, you know, you could just send it off into the mail. That's all I'm saying. So just do it in a color that makes sense though. Like if you did all of this in yellow, it might not be as as lovely as blue, but you guys know that I am blue bias. So, all right, I'm going to set this to the side so that I can just keep my eyeball on it. And now I think we're going to go in and I think we're just going to do, we're going to do them regular, like the regular colors. Originally I had a different idea, but I think it's going to be easiest for us to learn the technique if we just keep with the true colors of the things. So I'm just going to go in and wipe these off. Hey, let it go. Let it go. Okay. I'm just going to go in and wipe these off. I'm not wiping the backs because I still want that stick to stay. I'm just wiping off the fronts so that I can get that blue ink off of it. Because now we're going to switch to the real colors. And this is, just for the record, you guys have seen me talk about the cloths from scrapbook.com. This is still the same. This is still the same one. I still have, look at this. There's like 20 or something in a roll. I've only used 2. They last for a long time. And I've even washed them. This got me away from using baby wipes, and I love that. Hi, Lisa. Okay. Yes, Kat, they give them away for free sometimes when they're doing, that's how I got them originally. And now I'm like, everybody should have these. They're amazing. All right. So now we're going to get our watercolor paper. You can use whatever you would like. I have a piece here. This is my Canson Monteval watercolor paper. I buy mine. One other Pixie spray tip. I wait a minute or so after spraying before putting the stencil on my paper so it isn't too wet. Yes, that is true. I sprayed all 6 of mine at one time. So by the time I went back to the first one, it was already dry, but that is a good thing to point out. So I buy mine on a bigger block, my watercolor paper, and then I just trim it down. I typically wait to do an order. Like I just recently did an order here from Blick Arts. I just recently did an order for a bunch of refills, and I always wait to order from Blick until I need watercolor paper, because then the box is huge. Like I'm already going to pay shipping for a huge box, and then I just throw anything else that I need in there. All right, so I do like a little frame on my watercolor pieces. So I'm going to go for, that is the scoring blade. This is the cutting blade. So I'm going to go 4 by 5 1/4. And then that'll give me, on my A2 size card, that'll give me a nice little clean border all around it for my watercolor. Okay. And I'm actually going to go with Happy Retirement, because one of the guys that my husband works with and I worked with for almost 20 years is retiring. So I'm going to send this in with him. Okay. So now back to the grip mat, and we're going to pick out our colors. Oh, please give me a thumbs up. That's so nice. Thank you. Yeah, and I don't know what hyping is. Have you seen that? I don't know what hyping is, but they like that a lot. All right, so I'm going to do blue for my sky. For my mountain ranges, I'm going to do some purples. I don't know if you guys saw, Brandon recently did a one, but I think it was with the lakeside landscape, where he did like the purple mountains in the background. Gorgeous, gorgeous. We love that. It was so nice. If you haven't seen it, it was in the Facebook group. So I'm not sure 100% for the purples. I'm just pulling them out. This one's much more desaturated. But I'm pulling them out just to see what I like. And then I'm going to do some shaded lilac as well. I love this for a snow color. And if you don't like a blue violet, you could also use speckled egg, which is like more desaturated blue. That would work really well also. Let's just grab that. And then grasses, right? That's what's next. Yeah, so we need a couple of greens for our grasses. So what am I going to do? Am I going to go? I think I'm going to go a little bit more desaturated because it's watercolor. Hi, Cynthia. Oh, well, good for you for organizing. Hype all the time. No idea what it is, but I hope it helps. You're the best. I love that you're like, will this help? I hope so. I'm doing it anyway. I appreciate your efforts. All right. So we're going to do the peeled, I think the rustic wilderness, and then maybe some pine needles. Right? There's 4 different grasses. 4 different grasses, not 3. So I think we can make a 4th color out of these. I do think that we can make a 4th color. And then we need like a brown for our fence, right? Let's go. What are we doing? I'm just going to go with whatever one I come across first, honestly. I don't feel like my brown's that important. And of course, because I'm looking for it, I cannot come across a single brown. Not one. Oh, here we go. Gathered twigs. All right. So, oh, and vintage photo. Okay. So I'm going to pull these out for the browns and see how it goes. Okay. I think that covers everything. All right. Now I have to get the matching blender brushes. I need the matching blender brushes. There's a green. Because of course we just put them away last night. There's a little brown and a big brown. I don't know if I'll need a little or a big. And then the purples, we got a blue, violet, a purple, and what else did we pulled the shaded lilac? Oh, the speckled egg. Do I have a speck? I'm sure I do. Or maybe I don't. No, I do. Here it is. See, it just got some other stuff on it, but that's fine. We're just going to work through it. Oh, this is an oxide. So here's how you can tell the difference. And these are two different colors, but do you see how this is still really soft and smooth? And there's no like shine on it. See how this one is not? This is an oxide. Because it sits heavier. Look at how it is, like it's difficult to push it, where this one's super soft and you can still see the white. This one is definitely more challenging. So that's how you can tell the difference between them. And yes, you should have different brushes for distress inks versus distress oxides. You should not have them be the same. I'll go with this one for now and see. All right. I think we have everything that we need. Okay. Maybe another purple. I would just rather pull them and then find out that I didn't need them and then need them and then have to be digging around in the middle of the whole thing. That was a learning curve, as I never washed my brushes for inks and struggled with oxide buildup. I also never wash my brushes ever. never. So, all right. So now we're going to do our ink blending first, and then we'll go in and do the watercolor. So we have our watercolor paper on our grit mat. Then we're going to go through, and I'm starting off with the same one that I started off with the first time, which is the Sky and Ground one. I want to make sure I'm clearing that up top. We got to reposition because I already have my line here. So I'm just gonna, there we go. I just don't want to have to get rid of my line to create a new line. So I'm kind of cheating. There we go. Yeah, you can see, look at like here, like I have the oxide on my fingernail from just me just showing it to you. It's like, I should wash them, but I don't. Seems like a lot of work. All right, so now I'm going to line it up on my line. Make sure we're going to clear the top because we don't want that little border. We don't want that little border in our way. All right, and now here's our little mountain range. It's a little far left, actually. I think I want to scoot it over. So we have a little bit of that higher mountain range. Okay. There we go. And No, we're just going to do it regular. Like, stop trying to make it complicated, Kelly. It don't need to be all that. Okay. Brandon, you were gone, but I was talking about your card. When I was pulling out my purples, I was saying that you had just done one that was in purples and that it looked great, and that people could go to the Facebook group to see it. All right, so this is our sky. I'm just going to be really light-handed with most of these until that way we can kind of mess around with the values when it comes to the watercoloring. I got rid of my oxides last year. You got rid of craft supplies? I never get rid of craft supplies. I'm terrible. That's why you guys are only just getting mystery boxes now. Because I never get rid of anything. But it is a real pain. Some people put them in the washing machine, not prepared to risk my cheap brushes, and my labels are paper. Yeah, I wouldn't put one in the washing machine. I mean, I'm not, people might have good luck with that, but I'm not willing to risk it. All right, so then this is the ground here. So this is going to be our first green. And I am going to do, I think, a darker color, a darker green. Okay. So this is Rustic Wilderness. And again, with these little wiggly lines, I have the Pixie spray on there, but sometimes it's difficult for them to stick to watercolor paper, like if it's low tack anything. So I'm also just holding them with my left hand just to make sure. And this, with this technique, it actually does not need to be perfection because we're going to go in here and watercolor this. So we really just need a guide. That's why we're being so light-handed with our colors. Okay. So then that is the stencil. Then ground details and grass 2. Okay. So this is, remember, this is a smaller card like than this one. So you can see like that we're not going to get as much of this like grass. Sorry, this grassy hill right here, but that's okay. So this is the ground details grass. So we're just going to, those are going to be like a lighter, like kind of like mid green. So for that, I'm going to do the peeled paint. You don't even have to do different colors. I'm just, thank you for the blessings, Hockey. I appreciate. Oh, and Susan. So I'm not overly worried about it, but I want you guys to be able to see the difference. Because it can be a bit challenging when you're not as confident, and I want the technique to be as easy as possible. Once you get comfortable with it, then you can always kind of do, you know, do less with the stenciling so that you can do more with the watercolor. Okay. Give it up. Thank you. So that is this one. And then this is going to be our mountains and the little details there. So here, like, see how this is open down here? And we have like the little detail things. I'm going to double check. Yeah, it looks like in the stencil portion of it. Well, first of all, that's not lined up, Kelly. So I gotta change that so it's lined up here. Okay, and then there. So I don't want this piece to be purple like the mountains. So I'm gonna mask it. So in this case, I'm just going to use some low tack tape. This is pixie tape. And I'm just going to put that there, and it'll block that section while we do the mountains. Okay. So I've pulled out a couple of purples for the mountains. I think I'm going to go with the Dusty Concord toward the bottom, and then let that kind of go up to the shaded lilac. And then we'll blend the blue violet kind of down into that purple. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to switch this so that it's covering the mountain. And then I can do the darker green. What did I do with that? There it is. Okay. I'm going to do the darker green in here. And I don't necessarily love all these green colors together, but again, we'll be able to play around with that once we get in there and are doing the watercoloring portion. Okay. Oh, Hockey, is your mom in the hospital? How did I miss that? Was that shared somewhere? Oh, can I also just apologize for not doing the premiere on Monday? I have no idea how I managed to not set it to be a premiere, and I apologize. That was 100% my fault. All right, so this one is ground details. Quit moving. There we go. So I'm looking to see where my negative areas are, as well as those mountains, so that I can get them lined up. And my grass is not lined up. Oh, the math, yeah. The math was not mathin', but I did see your comment. And I appreciate I appreciate your help. Okay. There we go. And then what did we do? We did this peeled paint. We did this rustic wilderness. We did this pine needles. So let's do a combination of the peeled paint and maybe the rustic wilderness. Oh, well, I'm glad they were able to replace it. Hi, Kay. Welcome. All right. So these ones, again, these are some thinner bits. So rather than do the circular, I'm just kind of going to go back and forth and then switch. Okay. And then, what did I say? Rustic Wilderness? Is that what I said, guys? I think so. And then we'll go this way. Okay. I don't want to forget that one up there. Okay. That's that one. And then we only have 2 left. So this is the, I'm going to do the other one first. Okay. I'm going to do this one first. So this is the clouds and the details for the mountains, and then also the fence rails. So I'm going to get my fancy piece of tape back here, and I want to do the details on the mountains in a darker purple, but I obviously don't want dark purple clouds. So I'm just going to tear this as needed so I can get right up against it without blocking off any of the other details. Okay, and then this can go here. This is for far enough away that I'm not worried about it. Am I covering the tip of that? Nope, I'm okay. All right, there we go. And then I'm going to do this in the darker purple. So I think we will do the Villainous Potion. Melissa, I am using the what is it called? Range scene. All right. And it doesn't look like itself now, but just hang tight. All right. So now this is the Villainous Potion, and I'm going to use this to do the details. I know that they are white on the stencil, but just hang tight. Okay. Just hang with me. Trust the process. Okay. And then the brown, and I pulled a big and a little. I'm going to try the big first and see. Okay. The big does seem to be working. Okay. Now I got to switch this. I'm actually not going to, I have to take this off and reline it because the purple ink is here and I don't want that to get into my clouds. So I'm just going to go in and wipe that off. I should have done the clouds first because then it would be a lighter color and it wouldn't matter. So, but again, super easy to line them up. So not overly concerned about having to pull them off and put them back on. All right. So now I'm not worried about like doing these because I'm just going to mark where the clouds are. That's all I'm doing with my inking. Because I plan to do them a different way. So let's see if we can use the speckled egg. It might be too light, but let's give it a try. it doesn't have to be perfection. We just want to kind of get an idea of where they're going to be. And that'll do. Okay, last final stencil is the fence posts, and I'll remember them this time, Susan. I'll get them. Is the fence posts and this little grassy hill. So let me get that lined up. Close, but no cigar. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to use my little one for, what do we do with it? Pine needles. There we go. I like a flat stick brush way more than I like a hairstyle brush. Brandon, I do know what you're saying. The hairstyle brush is easier to get a softer blend with, though. So it just depends on what you're, like if you're trying to put down tons of color, or if you're trying to get like a soft blend, like blue into white, like a clean paper, then the hairstyle brushes do have a tendency to work better for that. But the flat ones put down more color, which I am always a fan of. All right. And then now we have the posts. Okay. All right, so here's 1 and 2 next to each other. Which inks are you using them mostly, do you find? Is that a question for me or Brandon? I'm sorry. Okay, so now that we have this on there, a responsible stamper would go through and clean all their stencils and their grip mat. But I'm not going to do that right now. I kind of like the all blue better. The all blue is pretty. Just hang with me. It's a trust the process kind of thing, Denise. All right. So now I have my little water cups. And for a clean and a dirty water, I'm going to use a 2. I'm going to pull a 2 and a 4. No, a 1 and a 4. I'm going to pull a 1 and a 4 because I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing. Small mountain on the right side. It is a cloud. This one right here, this is a cloud. So it's probably hard to see, but it is in there. But that's okay. So now I'm gonna zoom in. My papers are all jammed in. So my papers are actually stored in like paper storage. They're like shelves that I bought, oh my gosh, so many years ago. They don't even match my craft room. They're white with like green shelving. And I got them. Michael's was having like a clearance sale on them. And so I bought, how many do I have? 3, 6, I have 9 of them. And they actually sit on my floor. And then I have my photography stuff on top of them. But I do think they sell like racks. Like I think Brandon said he has like a rack. I do think they sell those at the craft store as well. All right. Now let me get in my crisscross applesauce position. So with watercolor, we don't want to work in 2 areas that are touching each other. We want to work 2 areas that are separate. So I am going to use I'm going to start with my smaller brush and some clean water. And I'm going to start with these ones right here. I need a paper towel because this is how we're going to control our water. One of the biggest complaints that I hear with watercolor is that it gets smushy, it gets mushy. And so if you have too much water, you have less control. If you have a little bit of water, you have more control. So we're going to dip it in. You don't want your brush to be like, you don't want it to have it like pooled up. And I always like to take my paper towel just to the base of the bristles, and then it sucks out all the extra moisture, but still leaves water in the tip of the brush. And then I'm going to go into like these thinner areas, and I'm going to add that water. If you're coming in late, we are working on watercolor paper. As you get more experienced, you'll get better at picking up an appropriate amount of water. But when you're just starting, just blot it. Just dip it and blot it. And then you can see how we're kind of moving that ink around. And it's going to give it a more watercolor look. Now, we went in really light with our ink blending so that we could control how much pigment was there. But let's say we want to darken this up a little bit. So I'm just going to, I am using Distress inks. You can use any dye inks that will work with water, by the way. So I'm going to pick this up with a little bit of water, and then I can go in and I can add some shadows or some darkness wherever I would like them to be. If you need a little bit more water, you can pick that up. But because we already have that pigment there and it's already giving us this line, we don't have to do a ton of work to be creative. We just have to follow along with what is there. So this other piece down here is also, I'm rinsing and I'm blotting. And then I'm going to go in here. Now, with watercolor, any part that is wet is where the pigment is going to flow. So I am avoiding those fence posts because I don't want the brown to flow into my green, but also because I don't want to lose the line for the fence post. There is honest and blunt, but it took me a while to understand the difference. What are we talking about? I think I'm missing a conversation. All right. So there's that. And then again, we can pick up some more if we want to add in some more color or even some more texture. You know, sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of added texture. And you can go, you know, as dark or as light as you would like to go. Watercolor always dries back. So remember that when you're painting, it's always going to dry to be a little bit lighter. And then I'm going to skip this one in the middle just because I don't want to risk it while the other one is still wet. And then I'm going to go in through these fence posts. And these ones are so, like, the sections are so small, especially back here, that if you don't want to add any extra pigment and you just want to move around what's there, that's totally fine. There's nothing that says that you have to add anything extra in there. It's definitely easier to add it into the bigger sections. this is like, watercolor to me is always very time it's always very time consuming, but it's always very like soothing. And especially when you don't have to think about it, because we're not creating the scene out of our head, right? We're just going with what is already there. So it's so nice to just be able to like sit and paint it and have this like painterly landscape that really didn't really didn't take us too much effort. All right, so now I'm going to go in and get these ones in between here. And like I said, it can take a little bit of time, but it doesn't have to take a ton. You know, you can just go in and move that pigment around. And then if you're happy with the way that it's looking, then great, just move on to the next section. And because we're using such little water, it does dry fairly quickly. Okay. So now we have those done, and then I can come down here. Now, larger areas do get a little bit trickier because we don't want to have too much water, but if you have too little water, it's not going to flow. So I'm going to switch over to a 4. Okay. And this holds a lot of water. I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't. There's like a drop that's like ready to go right on the edge of this. Like, can you see how it's misshapening the bottom of the petals? Bottom of the petals, bottom of bottom of the what is the word I want? Oh, look, I dripped right on there. We'll have to fix that. Okay, but anyway, so when we blot the base of the brush, then it's going to absorb all of that extra moisture. So then here we can go in and still have enough moisture to carry so that we're not just going in with that little teeny tiny brush and struggling to get any movement from the water. Okay, so now that is Rustic Wilderness. Excuse me. So we do want to make sure that we have enough moisture to work with. And then we can kind of drop in some more color. A little bit more water. And just like I said before, guys, it doesn't have to be perfection. We're just trying to add a little bit to it to make it more interesting. Okay. And then we're going to skip that little small area in between. And we're going to move on to this one. Okay. And then we can add a little bit back in here. This one, like, there isn't a right or a wrong way to add your color in. We're just adding a little bit different color to add some added interest. That's all. That's our whole purpose. I love the video with your little jelly bean. I think she's going to take after mom in the arts. I certainly hope so. It is a lot of fun to craft with her. It gets very challenging like when we're up here because there's a lot of stuff for her to get into. But when it's like when we're downstairs and it's a little bit more controlled, it is a ton of fun to craft with her. And then we do, you know, we do different things. We painted some houses for Christmas. I would have liked to have been able to do that a little bit more, but we just had a lot of Christmas celebrations, so there wasn't necessarily as much time. We did make paper plate Christmas trees though. Okay, so now I have those little sections in between. Hi Shannon. All right, so now I think that was the, oh no, we did this area back here is also this color combination. So see these little, the little spotty parts? So you can paint around them so that you don't, you know, because any point where you add moisture is going to move that pigment. So you can paint around them or you can just let them go altogether. Like you can just paint right over them and they'll just become darker pockets of color, which is what I'm going to do because honestly, that's easier. And then I'm going to go back in and add some of this. And then that area will actually have like 3 colors in it, which is great. That's fine. And then this one. And if this, I'm still using the number 4 brush, but if that's too much, like if it's too large for, you know, getting in between these little areas, switch back to the 1. That's fine. Most of us are old. Hi, Joe. I also am old. Emma, honey, I don't have anything for you, baby. Okay. And then again. And you can make it as dark or as light as you would like. Like here, I might make this a little bit darker. And then a little bit lighter in the middle. So we got a lot of greens going on here. Oh, Shelly, that's so funny. We were talking earlier about how it's raining everywhere. Lisa, OBS Kelly. Brandon just said he's old, and Brandon and I are the same age. So I feel like I'm allowed to also say I'm old because I also am. But if Brandon can say he's old, then so can I because we're the same age. Okay. I was still playing hockey at 45. That's amazing. That is amazing. This is pine needles. Okay. So we're going to get this one right here. Remember, we're blotting the base of our bristles so we don't put down too much water and we maintain that control. Okay. And then I will also I round to the 5. I don't round to the 5, but that is funny, Brandon. See now here, see how this is like bubbled up? It's because I was giggling and I didn't blot. And so I went in with too much water. If that happens, you can always blot it up with your paper towel or blot your bristles and then see what you can do about spreading it out for your entire, the entire expanse of your card there. So this area is close up. So we're going to add more texture to this. And then we'll do more with that once the base dries a little bit. Because this is going to be closest to us, so we're going to be able to see. It won't be as fuzzy. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So then we're going to wait. I have to wait for this one to dry before I can do this area of grass. So I'm going to go in and get my fence. I'm going to switch back to the 1 for that. And I'm going to get a sip of coffee. Okay. Wrong pipe. All right, back to the 1. Blotting. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm dropping my, because I need my gathered twigs. Okay. Wendy Cranford did a video with these. Yeah, and her daughter, like, she lives in California, but her daughter rides and stuff, so she probably has a much more realistic take than those of us who live in Ohio. All right, so now we have the 1, and we have to pick what we're going to do. So I'm going to go in and get the top line. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of color. Very little water. I'm going to go right over top of that. Again, next line, very little water because we don't want to blow out the line. We still want it to look like a fence. And I'm really, like, I'm using such little water when I'm picking up the ink. Just to be able to maintain that line's integrity. Okay, and then I do need a little bit more water to make it flow. If you feel like you're picking up ink and then you're taking it to your paper and nothing's coming out, you probably need just a little bit more water. It does require some to flow. Okay. So now I've done the cross ones. And oh, hi Jennifer. We're doing a landscape watercolor scene with stencils. All right. So now these ones I'm just going to add a little bit of shading to the left-hand side of them. I'm going to leave the right-hand side light. I did not go in and water these out first. I'm just adding that little bit of darker on the left-hand side. Okay. So we can see our fence. Now we're going to go back in and hit that last little bit of green. Back to the 4. And remember, we don't want to have too much water, but we do need enough in those larger areas to move the pigment. And that's just something that comes with practice of knowing how much water will kind of fill in that area. Okay. So you could just leave it like this without adding anything extra, like any extra pigment. And I am going to leave the top part of it pretty light, but I am going to add a little bit of shading down here, and that is with the peeled paint. Brandon, some of these ladies are already more active than me. Oh. Okay. If you find that when you're putting your additional pigment down, it's not blending out, like this part right here, it's because your paper's dry. So thankfully, watercolor is very forgiving, very forgiving. So if you go in and you have that hard line, you can just go in with some clean water and bring your clean water down from the top into your line, and it'll blend out. There we go. Okay. I don't want there to be white spaces in between my layers of grasses. So I'm making sure to go in and get them all with water. That is kind of blurring out my edge on my hill, but again, we will have a way to fix that. So don't overly worry about that. Okay. So now all of our greens are done. This whole section is done. Thank you, Connie. And we're going to move up to our mountains. So we have a pretty large area. I'm going to do the light one first. So I'm going to go in. Don't worry if you get some of those darker areas. Don't worry about that. Don't try to avoid them, because we don't want to go in and lose all of the spots that are giving us that detail and dimension, which, like we talked about earlier, typically does tend to happen with watercolor. Like that's a big complaint of watercolor, is just those kind of blurry edges. So I'm just going to do my best to paint around them. It does not have to be perfection. Okay. And if worst case scenario, you lose one, it's okay. It's not a big deal. If you lose too many and you're like, hey, I don't even know where these detail parts go, just wait for your watercolor to dry, put your stencil back on top, and put those details back in. Oh, I have too much water. So the way that this is drawn, everything's kind of flowing this way. That is why I'm putting the water on at kind of like that diagonal, because it's already kind of drawn that way. So I'm just taking my clues from the illustrator on where we want to add the things. Okay. So now, what do? We did Dusty Concord. I probably don't need that much purple. I'm going to stick my hand right in it. Let me get rid of that bottom part. Okay. So now I'm going to pick up some of this. And I'm just going to kind of add it along the bottom because the stencil does a lot to give us the details of the darker parts in the mountain. So we don't really need to add too much. Just going to make sure that kind of blends in there. I just wanted it to be a little bit darker at the bottom so that it looks like the top is taller and is catching some light. And I may even what did I do with the other one? This is Villainous Potion. I'm going to see if maybe that will add a little bit more darkness. Okay. I do like that better. So again, see how those lines are really hard. We're just going to go in with some clean water right along that edge and help it to blend. And then if that part's dry, then I can probably guess that this part down here is dry. So okay. So I just feel like adding that little bit of darkness helps them to look like they're like getting taller. So then we want to make sure that those areas are dry. And again, we're using very little water. So they should be drying pretty quickly. But I'm going to start at the top with my darker spots. And then I can go back in there and just drop in a little bit of extra pigment. Alternatively, if you're like, like those areas are already there and I'm happy with them, you can just go in without adding any extra pigment and just move the pigment around and then leave it alone. But I find once you add that water, because we've talked about how watercolor dries back, like once you add that water, I do like to add in kind of a little bit more of that darkness. And if you're like, because see like here, see how these are all like really watered out and now they're soft. If you want to go in and add like some extra dimension, you can go in with just the ink. And make those a little bit darker. I'm also going to, I'm gonna add just a little bit of water here, and then I'm going to pick up that Dusty Concord, and then this will help it to look like this mountain is behind the other one instead of just being one range. And then the same thing like here. I'm just going to blend that out so that you can kind of push one in front of the other. Does that make sense? And if you feel like you've gotten too much pigment, then dry off your brush and then go in with a clean wet, but not, not dripping. And you can pull up some of the pigment, which helps. Okay. Then continuing on, the bottom should for sure be dry by now. And these pieces that kind of got a little bit watered out down at the bottom. Thank you, Betsy. Marker is much quicker, but the look is completely different. Like you guys know that I love my markers, but you cannot mimic the look of watercolor with alcohol markers. Okay. But so if we just follow along with what we already know is there, we can get a really beautiful result that looks like, you know, we just sat down and painted it out of our brain, even though we know we did not. Okay. So I think I'm okay with those. Like, I think I'm good with that. So the only thing that we have left now is the sky. I'm hoping your color theory class will help me get my coloring mojo back. Denise, I certainly hope so. I'm very excited about the class. And I hope that everybody enjoys the learning about color theory. Plus, we'll be using all of Honeybee's fantastic products. So, hi, Jennifer. Thanks for stopping by. I was too broke to take the class. That's okay, Brandon. It will all be there. It will still be there. So save up your pennies. All right, so now we have the sky. I am going to how am I going to do the sky? I am going to paint around the clouds, I think. Hi, Linda. Oh, and Louisa. We have a lot of new people just popping in. Okay, so I am going to remember to blot your bristles. I'm going to paint around my clouds. To move that blue around. And this is one where I'm not really going to add any extra blue into the sky because I want it to be soft. So you can see I'm just like moving in layers from the bottom towards the top. If I run out of water, then I just pick some more up, blot it off. But you want to try to move because the sky expands across the entire card. So you want to try to get them all, especially the open areas, like in just one swoop. So that way you don't have lines where you're like starting and stopping. Do you have water on your brush? Yes, it's just plain water. Did you sign in? What do we... had massive issues with Kelly's website and paying. So Lisa, what we have found is that you have to be logged in. because the way that the website works, it assigns the class to your account. So if you're not logged in, it doesn't tell you that you need to be logged in, which is a problem. But it tells you that there's an issue, and it almost looks like there's an issue with PayPal, but it's actually just because you need to be logged in when you're purchasing the class. And then sometimes people, because you when you first create your account, you get an email so that you can set your own password. And that a lot of times goes to like their junk mail and they miss it. But you can send me a message and I will be happy to walk you through it if you would still like to take the class. Okay. Denise, yes, Denise is taking the class, Kat. She signed up for it. I'm very excited to have her there. Okay. So now I'm going to go in, and we want to wait till everything else is dry. And now I'm going to go in and do the clouds. And again, I'm not going to have anything else on my brush. I'm just moving that little bit of speckled egg. Okay. All right, there we go. So we could leave it like this, but we're obviously not going to. So we're done with it. Well, I don't know. Maybe we're not done with this, but we are done with these. So this is like, I'm super happy with the way that this turned out. I think it's really pretty and it does definitely look watercolory. But you guys know me and you know I can't leave well enough alone. And so we're going to do a little bit of extra. You can use a couple of different things for this. You can use white acrylic paint. You can use other like textural things. I am going to use acrylic gouache. So you have gouache is like it is watercolor, but it's like a thicker watercolor, and you can make it more transparent by adding more water. And then I have this one, and then I also have this one from Altenew. So you can do either or. This one is whichever one works. And then you can also use white acrylic paint if you would like to do that. How do you sign up for class? So Nana, you would go to, I call you Nana because it's just first thing. Tina, you would go to my website. And then you would sign into your account or register for an account, and then you would be able to purchase the class. And just like Julie just said, she signed up for class, but she's not using anything that I'm using. She's going to shop her stash. The class is it's a technique-based class. It is designed for you to shop your stash. You can absolutely get what I have, but if you don't have what I have, that's okay. Feel free to ask me like what you think would supplement, or you can just look at the supply list and, try to supplement from there, whichever works. Okay. I have a truck driver military mouth and the F-bombs were flying when I couldn't sign in. Lisa, I totally get it. I'm sorry. That was so frustrating for you. I also have the same problem when I get frustrated by technology. Okay, so I have water on my brush. So I'm going to use that to just kind of get my gouache moving. And then I'm going to use this to paint in my clouds. Question, what can I sub for the strawberries? You can anything that you can color red. I would recommend red flowers for that particular card. All right, so we're going to do the white right over top of these little lines. If you want them to be more opaque, then you pick up more of the gouache. If you want them to be more transparent, you add more water. And we're just going to go right over top of these. I think I should have used the 1. I'm going to switch to the 1. Okay. There we go. Because I do have some thin lines here in these. There we go. That is better. I do be liking that better. Okay. There is another technique that we could have done for the clouds, but it's a little bit more advanced. So I feel like this is going to be the easier way to do that. Can you add more color on top of this if you do the white? You know what, Connie? I've never tried, but I'm not opposed to experimenting. Let's, do I have a piece? I do. Look, I have a spare. So let's put some white on there. That one's kind of thick. Let's do one more diluted. Let's let that dry, and then we'll see if we can add more watercolor over top of it. All right. Oh, I have quite a lot on there. There we go. Okay. And this one, and then this little guy. Okay. So then there's our little clouds. We're going to do more with that as well. That's what, Lisa, I think, no, Lisa, I think you're right. I think it will act as a resist. Okay. So now we're going to do that. And then I'm also going to use this. I'm going to use the thicker version to add some snow caps to our mountains. And then we can do little, just however much you want to add. You can do little sections. I think you paint over the gouache, it would lighten the color cause gouache reacts to water. Yeah, well, we'll see. We're going to do the little experiment and find out. So I think this is super cute, like adding the little snows in. And I'm just being careful to just add them in the same direction that the mountain was going so that they make sense. I do need a little bit more water. Getting a little dry. Fighting with the cricket yesterday. I own one, but honestly, I do not use it. It's probably as much as I should. I pretty much only use it to make like home decor or t-shirts. I don't really use it for anything else. But I had an OG Cricut, like I had an original, and I used that one all the time when I was a scrapbooker. In fact, it's still, when we were doing the mystery boxes, we were going through the stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this Cricut stuff? And she's like, you probably just give it away on Facebook. And she's probably right. Oh, you were doing a t-shirt. That makes sense. I need to get my crafting mojo back. Mine always seems to be fleeting during this time of year, because like it is, like we talked about before, it's dreary here, it's cold, it's blah. So I do struggle with creating during the winter months. Like usually once spring hits and people are doing their spring releases with the flowers and all of that, like I'm much happier. I'm much happier crafting those things. But then I also learned that it was silly to just do for the season. Like flowers were pretty anytime, and I could make them anytime I wanted. Okay. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's do our experiment while we let that dry. This is just the first one on the pile, so purple it is. All right. So this one, which is the one that's very light, it's gone. Like you can't even see it. So you can definitely put the color over that one. This one, where the paint was a bit thicker, you can see, it does take the color, but you can see where there's like a little bit of an outline. I don't know if you worked that. No, it looks like it will act as a little bit of a resist. A little bit. But the lighter versions, it just colors right over it. I do also, I'm gonna clean this up so again I don't stick my hand in it. And I do want to, go back in down here and do just a little bit of detail things for the grasses. I'm going to use my smaller brush for this. So all I'm really going to do is I'm just kind of going to flick this up. And add some of that like grass texture back in there. The way that the stencil has them drawn, they are a little bit thicker, so I don't want mine to be too thin. I need more water. But I don't want it to be crazy either. And this one, you could just add them, you know. Okay. I'm going to do some in the opposite direction just to make it look a little bit more wild. And then same thing kind of over here where it has the less water, more intense color. Just keep that in mind. If you get it where you're like, oh, that's too much, I don't love that, then you can always go in with just a little bit of water and get the base of it to help it blend in a little bit more. It does need a little cabin in a tree to make it a little landscape. All right, so now I'm going to scoot these out of the way. I am going to, now that it's dry, I'm going to grab my little white gel pen and I'm going to add some super bright white on top of our mountains and help those areas kind of stand out a little bit more. You could also, like, if you want ultimate contrast, you could go up right next to some of these darker ones and add some white there. Or if you're like, hey, I don't have gouache or I'm not comfortable using that style, you could just do the whole thing with this. And that would work. Okay. I have the die cut for this, not the stencil. Julie, this is only a stencil. There isn't a die cut with this one. Are you thinking maybe of the Lakeside? Lakeside has the mountains in the background, and it has a die cut and a stencil. I know I will be fine. Lost my son 4 years ago, so I thought I was prepared, but losing mom has been a whole different experience. Oh, Tina, I'm so sorry. It is, I agree. It is very, very, very challenging. Because I also talked to my mama almost every day. But I did, maybe this will help you. I was watching something, and this put things into a different perspective for me, for my grief and my loss. There was a woman who was talking about losing her son, and she said, every single day she asks for him back because she just wants him back. And I'm like, yeah, 10 out of 10, 100% lady, I'm with you. And then she said, but even if God granted her the miracle of having her son back, how could she ever take him back knowing that he deserves heaven? How could she ever take that from him? To ask him to come back down here and to be in pain and to suffer and to all of those things when he deserves heaven. And that really, really changed my perspective on my mom, because she does deserve heaven. And I could never take that from her. So hopefully that will help you as well. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out so we can do our sentiments. As soon as I find where I put it, here it is. All right. So here's our blue on blue, which I still really like. Here's our actual watercolored version. And so I like them both. I like them both. You could even, oh, look, you could even do like you would need more of it, but like how it would continue itself and it would only be colored in the middle. Yeah, tissues all around. Lisa, yes, like I gotta move on, or we're all just gonna be crying together. Okay, so I'm gonna go with a simple happy retirement, I think. It'll relax and enjoy your retirement. That would be a little bit longer. I think I'm going to do just the happy retirement. So this is kind of tiny for what I need here. Do I need a thing? No, that's going to cover up too much of it. I think I'm going to have to do the other one just because I need it to take up more room. Yeah, I do. I need it to take up more room. Okay. So here, relax and enjoy your retirement. Yeah, that's going to be better. That's going to be better, I think. Too high. Below the fence. Here. And I think I'm just going to do, I'm going to Gina K this. Oh, you had a dream about your dad shortly after he passed. Yeah, so my sisters and I were talking about this. Like I dream in the beginning, I dreamt about my mom a lot. When she first passed. But I will say, like, I would never give up dreaming about her. But in the beginning, the waking up was brutal. So, but yes. See, I love how when I say I'm going to Gina K it, you know exactly what I mean with a black border. I sure am. I sure am. All right, so I guess I could put this on the screen so you could see. I love that Gina has her own, her own style is so well known that everybody knows that. I do love to frame some stuff in. I do love that. This is 5. There we go. Okay, so this should be just the tiniest of borders. And then we'll put it on a white card. Bye, Brandon. Okay, and then I think I'm going to stamp the sentiment in black. All right. Why do I have 2 of these? Oh, I think we found one on the desk the other day. I think that's why. Oh, the back felt. Lord have mercy. Okay, well, that's a mystery for another day. I was like, why is this not sticking to my Misty? But it's because the back came off. All right. So we're going to do relax and enjoy your. We're going to do that part first. so that I can snug them into each other. We're using just, we're using just black. Two times. Okay. And then we're going to do retirement. There we go. Should I do it over here? No. Stop it. I can't get it straight. There we go. Okay. Okay. Dad passed in 2007. Decision after stroke had to be made 2 or 3 months after he passed for crying myself to sleep every night. Oh. I also worry about the placement of my sentiments, hockey, but thankfully, the the emergence of dyes has made it so it is much less scary for me, because then I can always die cut the sentiment and put it on there. But this one I felt like it should just be flat. Yes, Lisa, so was mine. I also am a pre-Misty crafter. I went to bed, was dreaming I was going to bed. I was aware my dream I had already gone to bed. My dad popped his face out from and scared me a little, and I said, "Hi, Dad." Oh, so you after he passed, you were having dreams about him. Yes, cat. That is an old school trick, stamping on the like clear acetate so that you can move it around. That is a great trick. I still have my tea roller. And also, I used to use a Stamp-A-Majig. Not that I was very good at it, but because I did a lot of scene cards, I definitely would get scared putting a sentiment on it, because I did not want to ruin it, and I definitely ruined more than one card that way. So I would not, sometimes I just wouldn't put sentiments on there. Okay. And now we need a regular white. That's not the right size. You are not the right size, sir. All right, let me trim this one. What's the name of the sentiment set? The sentiment set is Rest and Relaxation, Sandy. All right, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Okay. So here is the thing. So we did the one on the range, right? But Honeybee actually has several. Oh, I did. Good. Yes, Lori, yay. But they actually have several like stencil sets that have landscapes in them. So like you could do this for the beach or the lake or like whatever. We just happened to pick this one was the mountain range. But the technique will work for any of them. Ooh, hoping for retirement next year. I will hope for you. Okay. So then like you can add like our normal sparkle and stuff, like how we do, but it will reactivate the ink, so you have to be careful. So I'm just kind of gonna dab it on our little mountains here and going in the same direction so that it has a little bit of shimmer. Even boy cards can have shimmer. Okay, so I'm happy with it. I think it's super cute. You'll have to let me know what you guys think. So will you try this? Is this something that you'll try? I'm going to get a sip. Also, I think that probably I was able to go without a coughing fit because I can't drink when I'm doing a voiceover, and I can drink while we're talking here. Okay, so, oh, my camera fell. Hold on, let me fix that before I bring myself. Okay. And here I am back again with my hair back up. Oh, good. I'm glad that you guys are going to try it. I think it's super fun. And then, like, when you give this to somebody, you're going to be like, I painted that, which is true. You just had a guideline. So, okay. Let's do our giveaway. I try not to look. I try just to be like, all casual about it so that we don't know who's going to be the winner. Oh, Denise. Yay! Congratulations, Denise. So you are the winner of our giveaway for today's live for our gift card. So you're going to send an email to, it's not Betsy anymore, it's Jana, who's lovely and wonderful. I've been friends with her for years. So it's Jana at customercare@honeybeestamps.com. And then you'll just let her know that you were the winner from today's live. And she will get you all set up with your gift card. And so you can spend it right away, or you can save it for the next release, or whatever makes you happy. Like maybe you have a wish list that you'd like to chip away at. So I think that is it. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I hope that you learned a little something about watercolor, and that, this is maybe something that you can put in your arsenal to give it a try someday. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I know that it is time consuming. Is your email on your site? Lisa, yes, there's a contact me section that you can just fill that out, and it will send it to me directly. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much. I will catch you on the next one. Bye.